General Hospital spoilers tease that in the solemn atmosphere of the Port Charles courtroom, where every word can determine the fate of a child, Michael unexpectedly breaks every rule. Defies all predictions, and shatters the carefully maintained facade of composure he's held onto with a single, seismic declaration. He officially admits to being the biological father of Sasha's unborn child, and expresses his desire to build a legitimate family with her, not someday, not in some distant future, but right here and now, as the truth becomes undeniable. The entire courtroom freezes in stunned silence. Papers rustle, pens fall to the wooden floor, and every pair of eyes turns wide with disbelief, toward Michael's lips, still trembling with emotion. But only one gaze does not react with shock, but with something far deeper, devastation. It's Willow's. Because for Willow, that moment was more than just a legal declaration. It was a knife cutting through every ounce of faith she had ever placed in Michael, the man she once loved, once shared pain with, and once believed, even in separation, would at least preserve a minimal level of honesty between them. But all of that now evaporates like smoke. Michael's offer isn't just shocking, it's confirmation that she, Willow, has never truly been part of what was unfolding between him and Sasha. And worse, that he had planned it all long ago, quietly building a new home, a new future, while Willow fought alone in court, believing Michael was still her one remaining ally. Michael knows the consequences of his actions, but he doesn't retreat. He can't keep pretending. He can't watch Sasha struggle alone with impending motherhood while their child grows in shadows and secrecy. He can't keep letting Jason shoulder the false role of father. Or watch Sasha be torn between two worlds, one built on necessary lies, the other yearning for legitimate love. His declaration, therefore, is bold, courageous, and, to many, insane. But for Michael, it's liberation. Yet the cost of that liberation is steep. Willow is forced to face an undeniable truth, while she was fighting in court. Michael and Sasha were quietly creating another world behind her back, one where the truth was bent, feelings were buried, and she no longer had a place. This betrayal, to Willow, isn't just about love. It's the complete collapse of the moral foundation she relied on to survive grief, separation, and painful court battles. The already tense courtroom now becomes an emotional battleground. Lawyers hesitate, unsure how to proceed. The judge calls a recess to assess the validity of the sudden statement. Carly and Nina exchange uncertain glances, while Jason, once the shield for the secret, can only bow his head in silence. Sasha is in tears, unclear whether out of regret, overwhelming emotion, or fear that what Michael just did will destroy everything instead of saving it. And as everyone scrambles to interpret the legal fallout, custody rights, guardianship, hearing adjustments, Willow sinks into deep, crushing disappointment. She remembers every sleepless night writing appeal forms, every moment standing firm against Michael's lawyers, every sliver of hope that they might still co-parent Wiley and Amelia. All of it is gone. Michael has chosen another path. Another family. And worse, he didn't even ask her. No warning. No permission. Willow doesn't know which hurts more, the betrayal, or the public declaration that left her as the last to know about the connection forged between Michael and Sasha. To the world, she may appear as the one left behind. But inside, she knows, she is the one who was lied to the longest. This is no longer just a courtroom story. It's the aftershock of a public family reformation, where all secrets are exposed, and all relationships are reshaped by words, tears, and irreversible truths. Michael may have finally found the courage to say what he's long wanted, that he wants a family with Sasha and their child. But in the same moment, he loses Willow's trust completely, and perhaps even his own. Because in the intricate world of Port Charles, no choice comes without a price. And this time, that price is the shattered heart of the woman who once loved him with everything she had. The horrifying truth that Sasha is, in fact, Nina's biological daughter, a secret buried by time, cruel fate, and generations of mistakes, has plunged all of Port Charles into an emotional storm with no end in sight. It's not just a shock, it's a deep psychological rupture affecting three women bound by complex relationships, unresolved internal battles, and choices that now turn against them. For Sasha, the news hits like an earthquake, shaking the final foundation she clung to for survival. She was deceived, used, cast out of Nina's world with hatred and contempt. She was accused of being a fraud. An imposter pretending to be the daughter of a powerful woman for personal gain. And when the truth emerged, that it had been orchestrated by others, she quietly withdrew, endured humiliation, and punished herself through isolation and guilt. But now, with DNA evidence irrefutable and the truth laid bare, that she is indeed Nina's lost biological child, this revelation is not salvation. It is the final blade to the pride and dignity she fought to preserve all these years. Sasha is not just a victim of circumstance. She is a symbol of the consequences of loveless, irrational decisions. Her entire life has been void of proper love, filled with doubt, rejection, and an ongoing battle against inner demons. And just as she gains a chance to be a mother herself, to nurture a new life born of true love, she must face those who shattered her childhood and youth. The question is no longer, why, but, is there any path forward when old wounds are torn open by truths she never asked to receive? For Nina, this is perhaps the cruelest punishment fate could deliver to a mother. She lost her child to a medical tragedy in youth and spent years hoping to find her. Believing she had found her in Nellie, she embraced that hope like a divine gift. But when it was revealed Nellie wasn't her child, she shifted all her hopes to Willow, desperately trying to repair her pain by forcing a bond the other woman never accepted. And now, just as her relationship with Willow begins to mend, the truth that Sasha is her real daughter makes everything collapse. All the years Nina scorned Sasha, rejected her, accused her of being a manipulative fake, were all a deadly misunderstanding. Now, Nina must face the gravest guilt of her life, rejecting her own flesh and blood, cruelly denying maternal love, and letting arrogance blind her mother's heart. Even if she now wishes to make amends, to atone, to fall to her knees and beg for forgiveness, will time and pain allow Sasha to open her heart again? Nina isn't just fighting to reclaim her daughter, she's fighting for her dignity, and for one final chance to be the mother she never was to the daughter she hurt most. And Willow, who endured so many hardships just to begin opening her heart to Nina, who once believed she was the final bridge connecting Nina to her remaining humanity, now faces a shock beyond words. She is no longer Nina's daughter, no longer the center of maternal redemption. Instead, she is pushed to the sidelines, a temporary stand-in in a story that was never hers. Her deepest pain isn't the truth itself, it's realizing she was just a placeholder in Nina's journey to find her real child. Willow now feels betrayed, abandoned, and angry. Because all her efforts to build a bond with Nina have become meaningless. All three women, Sasha, Nina, and Willow, are victims of truth and the layered lies of the past. And at the center of this storm is Michael, who once loved Sasha, married Willow, and now faces the possibility of building a new family with Sasha and their unborn child. This truth isn't just a revelation, it's a sentence, with generational consequences. It upends not just emotions, but family structures, legal responsibilities, and the future of everyone involved. A dark new chapter has opened in Port Charles, and no one knows whether love, forgiveness, or family can survive the storm. But one thing is certain, none of them will ever be the same again. And none of them can move forward without leaving part of their hearts in the wreckage of the truths just unearthed. When Nina stood in the middle of the courtroom storm, all eyes began to fixate on her, not because of past actions, but because of a terrible secret only she held. Sasha was not just a woman struggling to protect her unborn child, but also Nina's lost biological daughter, a product of a dark chapter in Nina's life she had been forced to forget. And now, fate had pulled them both into a vortex not only of blood ties but also of law, deceit, and betrayal. While the truth that Michael was the biological father of Sasha's unborn child shook the courtroom, Nina felt the very foundations of her morals being harshly tested. She knew that if she revealed the secret of her mother-daughter relationship with Sasha, she could completely derail the ongoing efforts in court. Yet, if she remained silent, she would leave her daughter alone to face a powerful legal machine controlled by Rick, a man exploiting every loophole to destroy Michael and, in doing so, crush Sasha as an inevitable consequence. But Nina could not let that happen. Not again. The issue was bigger than who would raise the child after birth. It was about who would protect Sasha's honor, dignity, and future. Nina had witnessed her own stolen past, losing a child, losing choices, losing a voice, and now, with a vulnerable Sasha lost among enemies and lies. Nina felt responsibility was no longer a choice but a destiny. Even if it meant sacrificing everything she had built with Willow, even admitting her mistakes with Carly, Drew, or Jason. She had to stand up for Sasha. Things grew more complicated when Willow, the one who had once rejected Nina as a mother, was now on the brink of losing custody. Partly because Michael had betrayed her with Sasha, partly because Nina held the court's trump card. Nina understood that if she revealed the truth about Michael and the baby, Willow would collapse. Lose her children, and perhaps never forgive. But if she stayed silent, her biological daughter would be dragged into a nightmare with no escape. This inner conflict plunged Nina into a terrible storm of emotions. Being a mother had never been easy, especially with 2 children, each representing a part of her heart, a part of her memory, a part of her guilt. Willow was the hope Nina had chased for years, the child she longed to reach, even if only with a glance or an apology. Sasha was the blood that had been stolen from her. The vital connection that made her feel she still mattered in this world. But now, she had to choose. Decide who needed her most. And no choice came without painful consequences. Meanwhile, Michael was gradually pushed into a defensive corner. What he tried to hide, his true role, his betrayal of Willow, the secret deal with Sasha, was being exposed piece by piece before the judge. Lawyers, relatives, and most importantly, his children. He was not only losing Willow's trust but might lose his parental rights to Wiley and Amelia. This crisis pushed him into a dark corner where, no matter how justified his reasons were, he could never return whole again. In that moment, when Nina realized Michael, who had once hated her to the core, was now awkward, desperate, and threatened. She understood that the entire value system everyone clung to had collapsed. There were no heroes left. No one was entirely right. Only people trying to save what they loved in a world where truth sometimes became the enemy. And if the secret that Sasha was Nina's daughter came out during the trial, it would affect not only Michael, Sasha, or Willow. The entire city of Port Charles would tremble, and the custody battle would turn into a fundamental fight over trust, honor, and the right to call oneself family. Sasha would have to face a new identity, Michael would pay the price for his miscalculations, Willow would face her greatest loss. And Nina, she would be forever changed. No longer just a mother yearning for love, but a woman forced to choose who was truly her blood, and who was merely a chapter in a past that could not be erased. Michael and Sasha were no longer just 2 isolated characters in a tragic saga unfolding in Port Charles. They were becoming the epicenter of an emotional earthquake, a collision point between love, truth, and parenthood. After days of hiding, running away, and enduring the torment of hidden secrets, they began to voice an undeniable truth. Despite everything, they still wanted to be together. That desire was not just a vague promise in a moment of emotion but a vivid plan taking shape, step by step, amid legal storms and ties from the past. Michael, once proud to be a responsible father, a family man, was now undergoing a profound transformation. No longer Sonny's ideal son, nor just a former husband clinging to the image of family with Willow, he was becoming a new kind of father. One who embraced the truth that the path to home was never straight. The bond between him and Sasha did not come from arrangement but from shared wounds, falls, and the thirst for a fresh start. Michael's words to Sasha, expressing his wish to be a family, were not just sweet talk but an invitation to forgiveness, a shock to those who thought they were merely 2 lost souls. Sasha was no longer the weak girl once deceived and stripped of everything after Liam's death. She survived hell, rising step by step from the depths of addiction, loss, and pain. In the past, revealing her pregnancy had been planned as a tactic to protect Michael in the custody battle. But now, the fact that the child she carried was truly Michael's was no longer a strategic detail. It was life, blood, and future. Michael did not demand or force her to accept him as the legal father. He simply gently acknowledged his desire to build a family with her, a gift Sasha never thought she deserved. However, none of this existed in a vacuum. Willow, Michael's former wife who once trusted him, now felt deeply betrayed. She had sacrificed so much for Michael to keep the family and stand firm in the custody battle for Wiley and Amelia. And now, in front of everyone, Michael openly desired to build a new family with the woman he once rejected. It was not just personal betrayal but the collapse of everything Willow believed about Michael's honesty and ethics. This made the trial no longer just a legal argument, it became an emotional battlefield where trust, hurt, and anger clashed fiercely. In that context, Michael and Sasha not only faced suspicious eyes from the judge and the public but had to learn to overcome judgment, gossip, and unnamed fears. They chose to stand together in the storm. Hand in hand, not to shield each other from the world but to face it together. One of the strongest internal shifts was Michael's courage to face the truth. Happiness did not come from perfect arrangements but from daring to do the right thing even when criticized. This change rippled through the Port Charles community, where every character, from Nina to Carly, from Jason to Sunny, would have to face Michael and Sasha becoming a new family unit. The name, Corinthos, was no longer just a symbol of power or danger but the starting point for a new generation, where children like Wiley, Amelia, and Sasha's unborn child could grow up in truth and love. This proved the biggest shock Port Charles had ever seen, that amid lies, fake evidence, and ruthless disputes, some people choose the hardest path, the path of forgiveness, love, and family. And when Michael looked into Sasha's eyes, nothing else existed, no lawyers, no judges, no past, only one thing remained. A home they would build together from ruins, from brokenness, and from a love that never faded. Nina was now at the center of a silent but fierce storm as she deliberately hid the earth-shattering secret involving Michael and Sasha. Keeping quiet about the true father-child relationship between Michael and Sasha's unborn baby was not just an act of protecting her daughter, it was a risky strategy. A highly dangerous calculation shaking the entire trust system within the family and the court. She was embarking on a reckless journey where every suppressed truth could become a ticking bomb ready to destroy not only the custody trial but also the last shred of honor she still held. Nina's silence was not merely out of concern for Sasha but also an attempt to control a situation in a world collapsing too fast. She knew that just one small slip, an unguarded testimony, a suspicious look from the judge, or a timely piece of evidence, would shatter everything she tried to hold together. By hiding the truth, Nina not only protected Michael from severe legal consequences but also prevented Willow, her own lost daughter, from another emotional shock when learning that Michael had silently betrayed her and the woman replacing her was Sasha. For Willow, this was a dangerous game she didn't realize she was a pawn in. She tried to keep her ground in court, believing she was fighting for what was right, for the children, and a peaceful future. But just when she trusted those around her, especially Michael and to some extent Nina, the truth Nina hid was the knife about to stab her in the back. If the secret leaked, Willow would lose not only her children but also her trust in the two closest people in her life. Nina's reckless adjustment was not just a legal or emotional tactic. It was an expression of deep fear, fear of losing her daughter again, fear of being excluded from Sasha's life, fear of forever being the outsider in major decisions. What Nina did not realize was that her silence was fueling a psychological bomb. If Willow found out the truth not from Michael but from the opposition or a third party, she would not only feel betrayed, she would see it as intentional destruction, an insult to all the sacrifices she had made. Meanwhile, Michael continued to dive deeper into his complicated relationship with Sasha, believing he was doing the right thing and moving toward the future. But he had no idea that behind Nina's silence was a tightening web of lies. The story of fatherhood, love, and rebuilding a new home was being constructed on a fragile foundation. One wrong word, one test result, or one slip from Nina could reduce it all to ashes. In the end, Mina's silence was becoming a double-edged sword, on one side protecting those she loved, on the other destroying any chance of forgiveness if the truth came out. Willow could forgive a lie, but never a deliberate betrayal from the one who once called her daughter. And when all secrets were unveiled, which they surely would be, not just one, but 3 women, Mina, Sasha, and Willow, would be caught in an inescapable emotional whirlwind where motherhood, love, and truth clashed in the ultimate tragedy. The tension between Willow and Sasha is more than just a crack in the sound or a feeling of repressed emotion. It is becoming an emotional earthquake that is breaking out and spreading to every dark corner of both of their lives. A relationship once based on trust, empathy, and understanding is now dug under layers of betrayal, deception, and unresolved hurt. Quiet Willow, an old friend, steps out of her comfort zone and into a dangerous spiral with Michael, the man with whom she once built a family. The fact that Sasha is pregnant with Michael's child is more than a shock, it is a deep scar on Willow's heart. In her darkest days, as she struggles with the loss of her child, struggles with illness, and tries to keep her family together, Sasha has someone by her side. And now, it is Sasha who is keeping a dark secret with Michael. Not only breaking the situation of leaving Michael to Willow, but also the remaining time of her role as mother and woman in the life she once believed. Feeling betrayed by 2 people who were once the spiritual foundation of Willow, she no longer knows what to cling to survive the spiral of wounds and justice. Willow is not only angry. She feels manipulated, brought into a play in which she is the last to know what has truly been defined as her destiny. In each but contemptuous move, behind the calm facade is the storm raging inside her, that their situation has been bought by the cycle of advice. Yes, Sasha says that it is also when Michael comes to Amelia. And Sasha, despite trying to stay strong beyond strength, is gradually falling under the weight of the truth. Not only does she have to face Willow's tender, wounded gaze, but she also has to live with the daily fear that her unborn child will be the reason a mother loses her chance to raise her own child. She doesn't know how to fix it, because any explanation now rings hollow. The concealment of the true identity of her father, and their rekindled romance with Michael, is no longer a private secret, but a public stain. One that could be dragged out before the law, the public, and Port Charles at any moment. Willow's relationship with Sasha isn't just fractured, it's fragmented. They're caught in 2 warring camps. Not just emotionally but legally. Willow is fighting for her 2 children in a courtroom that everyone knows has betrayed her, while Sasha is walking the line between an expectant mother and a woman convicted of a long-standing betrayal of trust. The exciting thing is that they both once longed for the same thing, a family, peace, and a place to call home. But now, that very thing is pulling them apart forever. And behind it all is Michael, the man who silently watches the 2 women fight over the truth that he himself helped hide. In the storm of betrayal and pain, he will have to make the next decision. Continue to stay silent to protect the so-called ideal family, or face all the consequences of his actions. But whichever way he chooses, one thing is clear, Willow and Sasha cannot go back to the way they were. The tears, the forgiveness, the hugs of friendship now remain the painful echoes of a relationship that is dead in one person's heart and dying in the other's. And as the truth continues to be revealed, only one thing remains unchanged. No one will walk away from this story without wounds that will never heal.